My brother said, "Christmas is too expensive. No kids this year." I nodded. Then I saw his wife post photos. Every cousin, every neighbor, Santa hired for the night. My son pointed at the screen. "Why not us?" I snapped a picture of their tuition transfer receipt and sent it. Cancelled. By morning, my mom had called me 37 times. 3 weeks before Christmas, my brother Zach texted me something that didn't sit right, though I didn't say anything at the time. "Hey man, this year's tight. We're keeping it low key. No kids, just adults. Hope that's cool. No kids, just adults." From Zach. That was weird. This is the same guy who hired a snow machine last year, who imported hot chocolate from some boutique shop in Vermont because Swiss Miss is for people who hate their children. The same guy whose wife Melissa started planning their holiday party in August and who asked me to split the bill on the inflatable sleigh ride they had rented 2 years ago. So, yeah, it was weird, but I played along. Said sure. Gave a thumbs up. That was it. I didn't want to start anything. It had already been a rough year. Jonah's mom, my ex, had decided to move across the country in June, and instead of dragging Jonah through a custody mess, I let him stay with me permanently. It meant fewer vacations, longer hours, more budgeting, but it was the right move. Jonah is everything to me. So when I told him about the party, or lack of it, he just nodded. He didn't ask why. He didn't cry. He just stared at the wall like he'd seen it coming. I hated how used to disappointment he was. Still, I told myself, maybe Zach really was cutting back this year. Maybe Melissa's online boutique wasn't doing well. Maybe they were finally trying to budget. That was until 2 nights before Christmas. I'd just come home from picking up a last-minute gift Jonah wanted to send his cousin, Zach's youngest, still thinking they might exchange something, even if the party was off. I was carrying bags through the front door when I heard Jonah say quietly from the kitchen table, "Why not us?" He didn't look up, just tapped the screen of his tablet and turned it toward me. Melissa had posted a carousel of photos on Instagram. Their house looked like a Hallmark movie set. Dozens of kids, cousins, neighbors, kids from their church. Every one of them dressed up, faces painted, candy canes in hand. Santa was there, real beard, rented costume. I recognized it from the year I paid for it. Fake snow blanketing the driveway. Even a bouncy house in the backyard. One photo had Jonah's cousin, the one he bought the gift for, opening a massive Lego set with his name spelled in lights behind him. The caption read, "Creating magic for the best kids in the world." I felt dizzy. I didn't say a word. Just stood there looking at that screen like it was a punch in the face. I knew what this was. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about cutting back. This was personal. I don't know when it started, but somewhere along the way, Zach and Melissa decided they were done including me. Maybe because I stopped paying for things. Maybe because I wasn't shiny or fun or rich anymore. I don't know. But they didn't just cut me out. They cut out my son, a 9-year-old, and they lied to do it. Jonah went to bed without saying much. I sat in the living room staring at the dark tree we put up together. No presents underneath it yet. I'd been waiting until the 24th like always because that's when we go to Zach's and Santa would find us there. That night, I opened my email and found the tuition payment receipt I'd received earlier that week. Zach and Melissa's oldest, Emma, had just started her 2nd year at Stanford. They didn't know I was the one who paid this semester. My mom had called me crying in August, saying Zach had maxed out a few credit cards and Emma's scholarship didn't cover enough. I said I'd handle it. $12,900 gone in an instant because I wanted to help family. I screenshotted the receipt. Just that. No caption, no context. Sent it to Zach at 10:03 p.m. He read it almost instantly. I saw the read notification, but no reply. Not even a question mark. By morning, I had 37 missed calls, all from my mom. Something had shifted. I could feel it. And the next part, that was when things really blew up. The first call came at 6:17 a.m. I was still asleep. By the fifth one, I turned off my ringer. By 8, my inbox was full of subject lines like, "What's going on?" and "Tyler, please call me back." At 8:45, I answered the phone. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew she'd keep calling until Christmas Eve. My mom didn't waste time. "Why would you cancel the tuition?" she asked. I asked her why Zach and Melissa lied about Christmas. Silence. Then a soft, rehearsed-sounding line about how they didn't want to overwhelm the house this year and it wasn't personal. I told her I saw the photos. That Jonah saw the photos. That he asked, "Why not us?" With a kind of voice no parent forgets. She switched gears. Said maybe it was Melissa's idea. Maybe Zach didn't know. Said they were going to invite us last minute. But things filled up too fast. Said I shouldn't overreact. I told her I wasn't overreacting. I was done. That tuition payment? Gone. Let Stanford send the bill. Let Zach figure it out. Maybe Melissa could sell some of those Instagram sponsorships she's always chasing. I thought that would be the end of it. A clean break. But I underestimated just how quickly my family could switch from guilt to gaslight. By noon, Maya texted asking if I was okay, followed by a string of messages hinting that maybe I'd misunderstood everything. That Melissa was heartbroken. That Jonah wasn't welcome. That Zach had been trying to protect me from feeling obligated. Obligated. That word made my blood boil. No one protected me when I maxed out my own card to cover Jonah's school trip last spring. No one stopped me from paying half the bill when Melissa insisted on catering from that overpriced tapas place last Christmas. No one said a thing when Zach asked if I could front the deposit on Emma's summer program in Italy. Now they wanted to rewrite history. No, I told Jonah we weren't going to Zach's. I told him Santa would find us here. Just us two. Quiet. Honest. He asked if he did something wrong. That was when I realized how deep this cut really went. I told him the truth. That people, even family, sometimes make awful decisions and that had nothing to do with him. Later that night, I got a new text from Zach. It said, "I didn't mean for it to go this way. I just thought it'd be easier without all the extras this year. Can we talk?" Extras. That was their word for excluding a child who calls them uncle and aunt. A kid who drew Melissa a birthday card in July with glitter glue and hearts. A kid who once cried when Zach missed his school play. I didn't reply, but Jonah did something I didn't expect. He asked to borrow my phone. Then, he opened the picture of the party on Instagram, scrolled through it slowly, looked at each face, each gift, each light. Then he said, without emotion, "They act like we don't matter." I didn't have to explain anything else after that. He got it. And honestly, that's when I knew there was no going back from this. The morning of Christmas Eve, I woke up to a string of notifications from the family group chat. That chat had been dead for weeks. Maybe the occasional forwarded meme from Aunt Brenda or one of Melissa's holiday recipe links. But this morning, it was lit up like Times Square. First message was from Melissa. "I don't appreciate the passive aggression, Tyler. You could have just talked to us like adults." Then Zach jumped in. "Things got out of hand, but you don't take it out on Emma. She's a kid. You know better." That one made me laugh, because apparently Jonah's not a kid. Just one of the extras. Then my mom replied with a paragraph so long I didn't even read the whole thing. The beginning was guilt-tripping. The middle was full of excuses. And the end was basically a demand. "We need to fix this before dinner tonight." That's when I realized they still thought we were coming. Even after the party. Even after the lie. Even after I pulled the tuition payment. They thought I'd fold. Show up. Smile. Play along. So I replied, "Jonah and I will not be attending. Don't worry about gifts for us. We won't be part of this anymore." That was all. Then I muted the chat. Not even 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a call. Not from Zach. Not from Melissa. From Emma. I stared at the screen. Almost didn't answer, but I did. She was crying, said she didn't know anything about the party, thought we were coming, and had bought Jonah a gift, a Switch game he'd wanted. She asked if he was okay. I said he was. I didn't give her details. I wasn't about to make her carry guilt for her parents. Then she said something that caught me completely off guard. Honestly, I don't blame you. They've been acting weird for a while, like fake. I don't even think they like each other half the time. That stopped me cold, because Emma had always played the golden daughter role. Stanford, student council, all of it. But now she was cracking too. Before I could say anything else, Melissa jumped on the call. I don't know if she'd been listening or just walked in, but her voice took over immediately. "You are poisoning this family," she said. "You're turning your son against us, and now my daughter's in tears." I hung up. Christmas Eve night, Jonah and I made pizza from scratch, watched old cartoons. He fell asleep on the couch in the middle of Home Alone. Around 11, I placed a single gift under the tree, a custom Lego set I'd found online, the Millennium Falcon. I'd been saving it for Christmas morning. A surprise. I checked my phone one last time. A new message had come in from Zach. Timestamp 10:46 p.m. Mom's crying. "Everyone's miserable. I hope you're happy." That was the moment I realized they weren't apologizing. They weren't even sorry. They were just mad I didn't play my part. The provider. The helper. The quiet, dependable backup they could count on when they ran out of money or messed something up. I'd stopped playing the role, and now the script wasn't working anymore. And the worst part? They still thought this could be fixed with one dinner, one phone call, one fake smile. But something had changed, and it wasn't just me. The welfare check backfired badly. 2 days after Melissa sent deputies to my house, I got a call from the school counselor at Jonah's elementary school. She asked if everything was okay at home. Said someone had called the district anonymously, claiming Jonah seemed isolated and neglected. I asked who filed the report. She couldn't say, but we both knew. I asked Jonah if anyone had said anything to him. He said one of the recess aides pulled him aside and asked if he was scared at home. That night, I called my lawyer. I didn't even know why I needed one, but I knew I couldn't let Melissa and Zach play with my son's life like that. If they were willing to lie to social services, what else were they capable of? The next day, I sent a formal cease and desist to both of them. No contact, no drop-ins, no accidental packages, no fake wellness calls. I copied my lawyer and made sure the family group chat saw it too. They went quiet. And then, out of nowhere, my mom showed up at my work. I was walking back from lunch and she was just there, sitting on the hood of my car like she used to when picking me up from high school. She didn't ask. She begged. Said everything had gotten out of hand. That Melissa was just emotional. That Zach was under pressure. That the family needed me back. That things were falling apart without me. She pulled out an envelope. Inside were Christmas cards, unopened, from 3 aunts, 2 cousins, even Emma again. One had a $200 gift card in it. She said it was their way of saying sorry. I asked her why none of them said sorry when Jonah got left out. She didn't answer. Then she did what I didn't expect. She cried. Not performative tears. Brielonis. Said she was scared that without me helping with Emma's tuition, the others were getting nervous. That the family fund I used to top off, the one for emergencies, had dried up. That Zach hadn't told Melissa how deep they were in debt. That they might lose their house. I didn't feel satisfied. I felt cold. Because for years I thought helping made me important. Useful. Needed. And maybe it did. But it also made me easy to exploit. And now, when I finally stopped playing that role, the whole illusion cracked. And here's what surprised me most. I didn't want revenge anymore. I just wanted them out of our lives. I told my mom I hoped they figured it out. But Jonah and I were building something different now. Something honest. And we didn't have room for people who lied to children to protect their own image. That night, I sat with Jonah on the couch, and we finished The Falcon together. He asked me if Christmas would always be just us now. I said, No, it will grow, but only with people who deserve to be part of it. The welfare check wasn't just an insult. It was a line in the sand, and they crossed it without hesitation. I didn't even realize how far they were willing to go until the school called. Jonah's counselor left a voicemail asking if I could come in for a routine discussion. When I got there, she shut the door, lowered her voice, and told me the district had received a report suggesting Jonah might be emotionally neglected. She made it clear it wasn't a teacher who raised the alarm. It came from someone outside the school system. They couldn't name who, but I didn't need them to. This wasn't concern. This was revenge. Melissa's kind. The kind that hides behind fake smiles and good lighting, and it made something inside me switch off. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. That night, I filed paperwork through a lawyer. A formal cease and desist against Zach and Melissa. No more contact, no phone calls, no gifts, no unexpected visits, no reaching out to Jonah, directly or indirectly. I looped my mom in and made it perfectly clear that if anyone tried anything else, there would be consequences. Legal honest. The next morning, the family group chat went silent. No more fake concern. No more guilt tripping. Just radio silence. Until 3 days later, when my mom showed up at my office. She was waiting by my car like she used to when I was in high school. She didn't look angry. She looked exhausted. She didn't say hi. She said, "You can't do this to us." I asked what exactly I was doing. She said Melissa was spiraling, that Zach was falling behind on mortgage payments, that Emma's tuition situation had gotten worse, and she might be forced to drop out mid-semester. And the emergency fund, the one I'd quietly padded for years, was empty. Everyone in the family was starting to panic. My aunts, my cousins, even a couple of in-laws. People were starting to ask questions. She opened her bag and handed me an envelope. Inside were Christmas cards from various relatives. I didn't open any of them, but one of the envelopes was thick. I could feel the plastic of a gift card. I asked her what this was supposed to mean. She said it was their way of saying they were sorry. Except not one of those cards had come before Jonah saw those Instagram photos. Not one of them said anything until the tuition payments stopped. Not one of them cared until they realized what it meant to lose the person they thought would always pick up the slack. I asked her why none of them said sorry to Jonah. She didn't answer. She just kept saying we were family, that I was punishing everyone over a misunderstanding, that Melissa was just acting out, that Zach had a lot on his plate, that they needed me back. She said things were falling apart without me. I told her that's not what families are built on. If your family crumbles because one person stops writing checks and covering for bad behavior, it wasn't a family. It was a convenience. That night, I found Jonah asleep on the couch again, curled up under a blanket, with a half-built section of the Millennium Falcon in his lap. He looked peaceful, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilt, or pressure, or that strange low-level fear that if I didn't hold everyone together, everything would collapse. It already had, and we were still okay, better than okay. The people who used us, lied to us, and tried to twist reality to protect themselves. They were the ones scrambling now. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted peace, and we finally had it. The silence didn't last forever. It never does. A couple weeks into the new year, the family started creeping back in, like they thought enough time had passed that we'd forgotten. Aunt Brenda sent a long text thread about a fresh start and putting things behind us. One cousin sent a video of a baby walking, like that was supposed to bridge everything. Emma reached out with a real apology. I didn't ignore her. I just said thanks. But I didn't invite conversation. Then an invitation came in the mail. Not a text. A real thick paper card. Gold embossed letters. My cousin Amanda's son was turning 5. Backyard party. Saturday. Everyone's coming. Would love to see you both. Jonah asked me if everyone included Melissa and Zach. I told him yes. He didn't say anything at first. Then he said, We should go anyway. I want to see if they pretend again. I didn't expect that, but I also didn't argue. So we went. It was a typical family gathering. Fold-up tables, kids running around, some country music playing from a Bluetooth speaker, a cooler full of juice boxes. Comfortable, familiar, tu familiar. The moment we walked in, eyes landed on us. A few people waved awkwardly. Some avoided looking entirely. Melissa was there, standing under the patio umbrella in designer sunglasses, like she was about to host a charity gala. Zach stood next to her, plastic cup in hand, pretending to laugh at something Uncle Dave said. They both spotted us, of course. And within minutes, Melissa came over. She crouched down next to Jonah like she had rehearsed it, said how glad she was to see him, that they missed him, that the party hadn't been the same without him, that they never meant for anyone to feel left out. Jonah stared at her for a second, calm, then said, "You invited every cousin, every neighbor, and even hired Santa. You didn't forget us. You just didn't want us." And then, just as she started blinking like maybe she misheard him, he added, "You don't need to lie anymore. I know what you did." I don't think I'll ever forget the look on her face. It wasn't shock. It was exposure. She'd been publicly, completely unmasked by a 9-year-old. Zach tried to step in, said something like, "Buddy, we were just trying to keep things simple this year." Jonah didn't even look at him. He turned to me and asked if we could go. We walked out together, hand in hand. No one followed us. No one even said goodbye. Back in the car, Jonah was quiet. I asked if he was okay. He said, "I don't think they're going to change." I told him I didn't think so either, and then he surprised me again. "I don't want them to." He looked out the window, calm, like he was already past it. "They can be who they are. We'll just be different." That night, we finished the Falcon. We placed it on the shelf above the TV, the centerpiece of our little living room, the quiet trophy of a Christmas no one else will ever understand. A month later, I closed the joint account my mom used to deposit emergency fund checks into. I removed myself from every group text. I told my lawyer to make the cease and desist permanent and expanded. I started fresh. I stopped looking for apologies. And something strange happened. I didn't feel bitter. I felt free. I didn't need to punish anyone. Life was doing that for me. Zach and Melissa still have each other, but barely. Emma ended up deferring a semester. Moved in with friends. My mom's trying to patch things together, but no one's buying it anymore. The family isn't crumbling. It's just being revealed for what it always was. A system built on certain people being useful and certain people being silent. And we're done with both. Now, it's just me and Jonah, planning birthdays, building Lego, watching Empire Strikes Back for the 3rd time. He still remembers what happened, but it doesn't haunt him. Because when the people who are supposed to love you show you they don't, and you walk away anyway, that's not weakness. That's freedom, and we earn every inch of it. It's been 2 months since that party. I haven't spoken to Zach or Melissa or my mom. No texts, no emails, no surprise visits, no apologies. And the most surprising part? I haven't missed them at all. At first, I thought the quiet would feel empty, but it didn't. It felt like someone had turned off a constant, low-grade alarm that had been ringing for years. One I'd just gotten used to ignoring. Jonah hasn't brought them up much. Once in a while, he'll mention something like a meme his cousin would have laughed at, or the way Melissa used to burn the marshmallows on her sweet potatoes. But there's no sadness in it, just memories. Neutral, clean. He's different now. More self-assured. He walks a little taller, like he knows that being excluded wasn't about him, that standing up for himself was the right move, that he wasn't the one who lost anything. I think that's what I've come to understand too. For years, I carried the idea that family meant obligation, that being the dependable one made me good, that sacrificing for everyone else was just what you do. I told myself that my silence was strength, that helping without complaint made me moral. But none of it mattered when they decided Jonah didn't fit the picture they wanted to post. That single choice, to lie, to exclude, to pretend, undid every loan, every favor, every holiday I held together with money and patience. They made their choice, and I finally made mine. I chose Jonah. I chose peace. I chose not to walk back into a house where being good meant being silent and being needed meant being used. And now, things are simple. We started volunteering at a local animal shelter on Saturdays. Jonah wants to foster a dog. Something small, maybe scrappy. He named the first one Chewy. He lasted 3 weeks before we adopted him for real. We built a shelf together for his Lego ships. We're saving up for a trip somewhere, with snow this time. He's never had a real snowball fight. I found a new rhythm with work. No distractions, no drained savings. No emergency requests at midnight from people who ignored us when it mattered. The world didn't collapse. Nothing burned down. No one showed up at our door. They're just gone. Still out there, sure. Still posting filtered smiles and overly curated holidays. But they're not in our lives anymore. And I think that's the final lesson. Sometimes the people who say family forever are the first ones to throw you away. And sometimes when you walk away from them, the only thing you lose is the weight you were never meant to carry in the first place. 2 months later, we're lighter, we're better, and we're just getting started. The months that followed were quieter than any I'd had in years. No one asking for money, no one calling with an emergency that somehow became my responsibility. No one expecting me to smooth over problems they created themselves. At first, I kept waiting for the next crisis, the next dramatic phone call, the next guilt trip, the next attempt to pull me back into the role I'd played for so long. It never came. Or maybe it did. And I just stopped listening. One afternoon, while Jonah and I were walking Chewy through the park, he asked me something I hadn't expected. "Do you think Uncle Zach ever misses us?" I thought about it for a moment. Then I told him the truth. "Maybe." He nodded. Not sad, just thoughtful. Then he asked, "Do you miss him?" That answer took longer, because the truth was complicated. I didn't miss the version of Zach who lied to us. I didn't miss the version who let his wife exclude my son. I didn't miss the version who only seemed to remember I existed when he needed help paying a bill. But I did miss the brother I thought I had. The one from years ago. The one who taught me how to ride a bike. The one who sneaked me snacks during long family road trips. The one who used to make me laugh until my stomach hurt. The problem was, that version of Zach either didn't exist anymore or hadn't existed for a very long time. I finally answered, "I miss who I thought he was." Jonah looked at me for a second. Then he nodded again. Like somehow, he understood exactly what I meant. Kids are funny that way. Sometimes they understand the hardest truths faster than adults do. When we got home, Chewy immediately ran to the couch and claimed his usual spot. Jonah laughed. A real laugh. The kind I hadn't heard much during the months leading up to Christmas. And hearing it reminded me why I'd made every decision I had. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. Out of protection. Because at the end of the day, my job wasn't to keep grown adults comfortable. It wasn't to finance bad decisions. It wasn't to preserve a fake version of family at my son's expense. My job was to protect him. And finally, I had. Looking back now, the Christmas party wasn't the thing that broke us. It just revealed what had already been broken for years. The lie, the exclusion, the tuition money, the welfare check, the anonymous report to the school. None of those things created the problem. They exposed it. And once the truth was visible, there was no way to pretend anymore. Some endings arrive all at once. Others happen slowly, piece by piece, until one day you realize they're already over. For me, it happened the moment Jonah looked at that Instagram photo and quietly asked, "Why not us?" Because there was never a good answer to that question. Only the truth. And once we saw it, we couldn't unsee it. So we stopped chasing people who didn't value us. Stopped begging for explanations. stopped accepting excuses, and started building something better, something smaller, something real. Just me, Jonah, Cheve, a shelf full of Lego ships, and a future that finally belonged to us.